Hi, second grade teachers. I hope this is finding you well as we wrap up the semester. Um, this money business, it can be a little confusing. It is on the heels of adding two-digit numbers, which is really helpful in the sense that kids already have this practice of using our number lines or our base 10 or our partial sums to help us add these two-digit numbers together, which helps a lot with our quarters. I noticed last year when we were doing this with my second graders that adding quarters is still really hard. Knowing that 3/4 is 75 cents and adding beyond that can be a little tricky. Skip counting is something else that I feel like we haven't had as much practice with, that is constantly in need of practice. So maybe something that you focus on at the beginning of this little unit or this week. Be thinking about, as you look at these lessons, why I did what I did. So I started with counting. There's first two lessons were really with counting these mixed sets of coins, because this is something brand new to second grade. They kind of liked coins last year, so they're counting mixed coins this year. I even started with just our pennies, nickels, and dimes on that first day, and then added quarters in the next day, just because those quarters add that extra little element of challenge. And so starting out with the ones that are pretty easy and skip counting by 10s and 5s is something familiar. So getting them practice and warmed up with that, was the reason that I did that. And then jumping into quarters after that. Then we're jumping into making change and then comparing or finding which one is more, which one is less, and even how much more or how much less that one person has than the other. And comparing is always tricky. So being thoughtful about getting lots of practice before we do that was the reason why that actually came last in our lesson sequence. There are 5 days for this. So as I've mapped it out in my notebook, I have these 4 days of lessons, and then I do have an assessment day, but I probably end up having that as a game, reteach, and assessment day. I don't think the assessment will take very long. I have not made one yet. I may make one on Mastery Connect, but we don't have one that's just for coins. We have the one in the book includes the dollars. So exit tasks are going to be really important for you to be using this week to get you some information about where your kiddos are, and then have a chance to reteach and give them extra practice throughout the week. I'm choosing amounts carefully today or this week when I was looking at this, being thoughtful about not having to regroup. Okay, so finding that 10, being able to get to a 10 is really helpful. So that's why I chose the numbers that I did and why I showed it solving the way that I did. Because we can make a 10, we can get to that friendly number, but we're not trying to regroup. We're not trying to do that yet. We're going to have time for that. We're not quite there yet. Let's wait till second semester when they've had some more practice with other numbers. Please know that money will spiral. So we're going to see this coming up again in the third and the fourth quarters. That doesn't mean that you can't get into that now, but I will tell you that it will depend completely on where your students are and what they need. If they're rocking and rolling with this, please feel free to dive into the dollars. I don't anticipate my kiddos being able to take this on and get into the dollars. So we're going to start with this, and when it comes back, and we'll practice with this, and it'll stay in our math baskets, and we'll keep practicing with coins throughout this quarter and even into the next quarter, and then we'll dive into the dollars when it comes time to deal with the dollars later on. So be mindful of your kiddos, what they need. Feel free to use all of these lessons, add on, see what your students need some more practice with, and where they need to be challenged, and do what you do because you know your students best. But I hope that these lessons help think through coins and their values and how we can find the unknowns in these word problems. Happy solving and happy end of the quarter. We're getting there. We're almost there. You guys are going to be rock stars. So have a great week.